microbes are across different domains of life. So I would see thankfully to the NIH at this moment in time to think about how you would sponsor initiatives. But sponsor in a way that would evoke creativity. Again, sort of this idea of how much funding should be for the garage-like behavior as opposed to tower behavior. Tower behavior is just a huge consortia trying to get together around the problem, which sometimes has a very valuable outcome. But also you want to have degree of versatility and nimbleness and bring people together around these compelling problems.
Hi, my name is Abby Glasscock. I'm from Virginia Commonwealth University. I'm just representing the Squareverse today. So I have a question specifically for Dr. Gordon and Dr. Wu. Our Twitter person asks, how do you consider antimicrobial residues in food such as meat and milk products and their impact on the diversity of the microbiome? In the U.S., levels of antimicrobial residues are legal in food animal tissues, and how do you think this impacts studies that are performed here in the United States?
I think there's an advantage to try to formulate human diets that are representative of those consumed by the target population that you're studying and apply them to some of the preclinical models. I think your question is a very good one, and are different sources of food ingredients, and is the food science that is applied to formulate those ingredients into diets affecting components of the microbiome, not just structurally but functionally. So I think it's possible to directly address an important question, and there are already the means and path forward to doing so. Gary, what do you think?
Yeah, so we formally haven't studied it, but my notion is that the levels of antibiotics that are used in food may have a long-term effect. Short-term effects may be relatively modest in the degree that it may be difficult to actually visualize in some way, although I do worry about the antibiotic resistance because that's sort of a long-term effect. And it also really varies by different antibiotic we found in both mouse studies, but also in human studies that the certain types of antibiotics we use even at pharmacologic levels that have a very minimal effect on composition. I don't know anything about the function, but the composition of them, of the human microbiome. So again, it's the dose, the duration, and the type of antibiotic, and these are very specific effects. And so I do worry more about the antibiotic resistance in the long-term effects than just short-term effects.
As a condition gas control is under the program, so I'm going to kind of avoid it, but I think this is the question of the Twitter user, just more general, which is to apply analytic techniques to food ingredients or diets, including mass spectrometry, prior to its administration here. And with that knowledge, you need to do correlation analysis to see whether the responses of the community are related at all to some of the ingredients in the food. To do so in an unbiased way as much as possible to create testable hypotheses that can then be carried forward to a not-about analysis. The whole issue is what are the bioactive ingredients in foods, the raws, the food formulations after applying certain processing, and how does that relate to the bioactivity of that food?
So I think that on top of that has the layered effects of antibiotics are one of the most commonly used drugs in the community, as well as proton pump inhibitors, all of which have been shown to affect the microbiome. And depending on your antibiotic, you need to keep in mind that individuals, I think an interesting example is when very large studies were done with IV vancomycin in individuals with deep-seated serious Staph aureus infections. The IV vancomycin over time begins to leach into the gut enough to protect the Clostridium difficile. So it's not an effect seen with short-term antibiotic administration, but that becomes an effect with long-term antibiotic administration. So dose, duration, frequency, and these drugs are very common. So it's very hard to, I think it's a great question, but it becomes a very hard problem to study because of the complexity and care, just simple healthcare in the United States.
I want to add one thing about the thing that's just about bioactivity, and that is it's absolutely true that we think of antibiotics that they have therapeutic concentrations for causing emergency resistance, but antimicrobials are carbon sources, right? They're food sources on their own. They have very biodegradation pathways, and the molecular temperature in model systems is sort of the thing on products of antibiotics. They don't have antimicrobial activities, but they have sort of microbial donation site activities. And so that's another concern, is I think, again, the food user could have been alluding to that the way our diagnostics currently exist, for instance, antibiotics used in dairy farming, they're very, very specific analytes that are analyzed based on what we think the bioactivity is. And so I think there is a huge amount of work to be done. Antibiotics are only one of those chemicals. So what happens with these biodegradation along the boundaries of biodegradation, sometimes microbial mediated, whether those become products of microbial structure. In fact, we take example of tetracycline degradation products not only can perturb microbial communities, but they can, in some cases, increase the frequency of horizontal gene transfer of tetracycline resistant genes. So actually, it can get much, much more complicated than that. So
I'm Dr. Gall from the CDC, and I'd like to just bring up a question that maybe we'll think about tomorrow as the can of worms. It's about translation. Translate to the clinic and translate to public health. I heard one question today, which was about something, I think it was one of the food sessions around, if you keep going this way, it'll be 30 years before we can translate. And I think that we have to keep in perspective, I'm not talking about the IP issues around product development, drug development, or the regulatory hurdles either. Let's leave those. That's not the focus here. But just on this question, and I'm a little bit worried, it's a little philosophical, because back in the sequencing of the human genome, after that, there was a long time of development of getting anything translated. Well, part of that was the technologies, which were just different. But now we're on this steep trajectory of technologies, and you just see all this enthusiasm that we know we could find functional answers to things. And it always just lasts a couple more years. And the question becomes for the research community, because we speak to the industry in a way collectively, and that is to try to figure out where enough understanding is adequate to go ahead and do something. I mean, we've seen associations, we've seen some outcomes. I guess as long as it's repeatable over and over again, and you have the desired outcome, so we have to understand that. I think it's something to just think about how we start. Actually, I think the focus here was to define gaps. So I agree with that. We keep defining gaps, but maybe one of our gaps is to understand when something could go to translation, and where is that link point. So maybe something to keep thinking about.
This question comes from ECU. There's a gap that was called out through email today, and this is something that came through from Thomas Schneider, senior investigator at NIH. And this came Mike Reddy, so I'm just going to go ahead and read. I've been watching excellent human microbiome emerging themes of the horizon of the 21st century talk today. I've been analyzing a lot of microbiome data, but in many, if not most cases, the OTU counts are unavailable, hard to find, or are only partially published. Incomplete data, for example, top 20 species, is useless for careful data analysis. Availability of data, subsequent data do nice, but analyzing it would add another layer of any computation. So critical need is to have full microbiome OTU counts of raw data processed by the scientists. Simple TFT files, not proprietary binaries, should be provided so that all data are accessible and permanently available. And then there was a question that came in from Anna Edlin, but also related to data that she's at JCDI. And here she says, when working with assembly of sequencing libraries from EFT, we realized quickly that there are shallow libraries, sometimes only 3 million reads up. And she called out a need to sequence more in depth to understand human microbiome and asked, can we set a common standard for sequence steps of community shotgun libraries representing human microbiome?
I'll just answer that last question. I think a lot of us are the same thing. I think you need to define your resolution design, define your experiment based on the biology that you want to answer. And I would strongly resist any kind of community-enforced standard of sequencing them. Right? So I'm sequencing, although in the first few days of a premature infant, when there are 6 species in there, I shouldn't be held to the same standard as someone who happens to have a remote contact gathering microbiome with 10 times the diversity. So I think what's much more important is for us to define upfront why we chose what we did, make the data available at a completely agree, so that other people can analyze it as they need to, and do that at the raw data level rather than the process data level. And then, people can reanalyze the data, but I think this idea of predefining sequencing there is dangerous.
And just on the simple point of making OTUs, there's several different ways to do it. They give really quite different answers, and then you can pick different cut values for filing up your OTUs. And so there'd be a danger if you're pooling from several different studies that they were made in quite different ways. So I'm afraid the annoying business of going back to the sequence data and making OTUs de novo is probably the best solution.
I would just like to add, it would be good if journals would reinforce their typical policies of depositing and making sure the data does get deposited with associated metadata that's required to do the analysis. That is generally highly inconsistent in work that we're trying to do at present and requires that months of effort to go to the authors and request the data needed to analyze.
Thank you. Brandon Egger from UCLA. In our personal research, I've been kind of raising the idea that there is variability in the microbiome. I think that's actually the cool thing about the microbiome. It explains a lot of reasons why our experiments and our clinicals don't work sometimes. In fact, I was at a conference for the ag microbiome a few months ago, and one of the things that they were doing was making the field faster. The companies that were going to real-life situations, and situations with humans, in our case, were actually getting to learn and understand and capture that variability and make products and get to market and actually solve problems by going down that path. So I kind of took that with excitement, and when we start to do clinicals for traditional studies, it's ready to humans and hoping there's food. So we're not feeding things in dangerous things to people, and as I realize that we all have different microbiomes. So I can give you everybody in this room a single polyphenol or nutrient, and 30% of people have a response, and 50% of people won't, and that explanation comes from the microbiome. And I think the future of this space and the ability to personalize nutrition is to grab that by the horns and start to understand why it is that I'm different than someone else, and instead of formulate things or drive towards understanding in medicine that can succeed are the differences that we can offer solutions to the population. It's not the values that we have with drugs. Drugs typically have 3 cohorts. There's drugs that work for 30% of the population, drugs that sort of do nothing, and then drugs that actually hurt people in a negative fashion. So that was my final comment. I just think that it's just trying to wipe out the variation and normalize everything down. I think the cool thing here is to try to understand at every depth, give the humans just commentary of let's try to figure out how these foods work in populations and maybe solve some of these nutritional issues, both from the western side of the thing where we overeat and consume lots of not food foods, to all the nutritional gaps that we see in other parts of the world. Thank you.
Yeah, but I think, I'm sorry, I just wanted to agree with that comment. Infrastructure variability can often be viewed as a negative thing as well, so actually can be very informative. So I showed you that principal point analysis of numbers with a lot of changes in response to time within 24 hours. It seems to be stochastic, but in fact that's actually quite informative. And an example of that would be Ernst & Bell's work from the Weizmann Institute in making predictions about postprandial glycemic response. And the reason they picked that up was that there was a high level of inter-subject variability in postprandial glycemic responses. And I talked to them about what we actually observed many years before about the inter-subject variability in response to diet. And I think that was one of the features that was very meaningful in coming up with that postprandial glycemic response indicator, was exactly as you say, that inter-subject variability.
Stephen Lee, we take NIH money. We had a very limited budget for this workshop, and we become pumpkins at 6 o'clock. Otherwise, we get charged more for this room. Thank you, everybody. After this log, Canvas protocol. This call will also be an update to the HTTP 1 helping cohort studies, there'll be more and more IHSE or HSE data for download from the DAC, and there'll be a bunch of paper collection coming out from the HSE student consortium. So my critical gap would be to integrate the HSE data set, especially the phenotypic data that you'll see in the bottom, especially the phenotypic program, with other human phenotypic data. And I want to thank you for this very productive and happy group. This is a start from yesterday's, it was the final steering committee meeting for the HSE program, which is kind of bad. I don't know everybody still has to leave, but not all of us were happy. I mentioned earlier the co-funding from IC, because very many institutes that are involved because they contribute to this program. Also, I acknowledge that IHSE external scientific consultants, especially Francis is now acting as the chair, and Jean Chang, the state of San Alto. And both of you have their teams have been really, really interactive and positive and working hard to really carry out all the assignments that we keep on to them. And Nita Walker, the HSE coordinator, right, very happy with energy and positive attitude were the central of this program. We don't need to push and ride to really second phase of this program. I think we're confident would not happen. Thank you. Apparently it's not hooked up. I'm going to use my cell phone. So what I'll do is I'll throw up slides with my hand so I forget 5 minutes left. Okay, thanks, Mary. Up next is Greg Buck, who's going to talk about the impact of the female reproductive tract on health and pregnancy.
I want to add my thanks to Mary and the Common Fund for funding our research over the past couple of years, and NIAID, NCHD, NHGRI, ORWH, and the other institutions that provide funding for our research. We also want to give a shout out to Philippa Proctor, who was really onto this whole HMP1, HMP2 project, and helped us get our whole project organized and working together. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit today about what we've been doing in the HMP2 study. This is a continuation, as some level of our HMP1 study on vaginal microbiome. Now we're focusing on taking a multi-omic approach to look at the impact of the microbiome on pregnancy. The project is called Multi-Omic Microbiome Study, Pregnancy Initiative of MOXPI. Our objective is to, as defined by the IHMP2 RFA, we're taking longitudinal multi-omic strategies to try to elucidate the mechanisms by which the microbiome of the female reproductive tract impacts outcomes in pregnancy, with kind of focus on preterm birth. Like preterm birth, approximately 1 in 10 births in the world are preterm less than 30 weeks, 37 weeks gestation. This can be higher in other populations, up to 6. African Americans have higher rates of preterm birth. And we over 12 million births in the world are preterm. Mortality rates can be fairly high in some cases. The survivors, as you're probably all aware, have long and very short-term health issues that can be very devastating to the family. Over $26 billion a year is spent in this in the United States for prematurely associated healthcare. And so at some level, we know that this is caused by 45 bacterial agents. We really don't know exactly how the microbiome impacts on preterm birth and for some outcomes of pregnancy. We do know that we're actually known that complex microbiome has negative impact on risk for preterm birth and adverse outcomes of pregnancy, and we're getting more and more data about that every day. So this defines our study, describes our study for some levels of longitudinal study. We eventually recruited 1,594 mothers and a baby, so over 3,000 total subjects. It's a longitudinal study, and we are following people from first trimester, third trimester, and then labor and delivery. We're taking a very comprehensive set of samples, cervical, vaginal, rectal, Mary's buckles, blood, and we have urine as well. And L&D, we did birth products. We also followed babies at birth and at discharge and at the NICU. We followed them as well. In our project, we've had 10 plus clinical coordinators at over a 3-year period present in all of the clinics at our medical center, as well as in the Global Alliance for preterm birth and prematurity preterm birth in Seattle, collecting samples from University of Washington and Yakima and a couple of hospitals in the Seattle area. We're covering, it was a fairly comprehensive collection program. We're collecting samples 24/7 now for over 3.5 years. This is the result of that process. We collected almost 250,000 samples over this 3.5 year period. These are the samples that we collected from different multi-omic approaches. They're described here briefly. A total of 231,000. So we'll underestimate the number of samples we collected. These samples are stored in freezers at ECU for future use, and we look at it as a gold mine, obviously, for the future. These are the samples that we analyzed, something on the order of 15,000 for the different multi-omic approaches that we've used. These samples, the data from these samples are already stored, as Mary pointed out, at the Data Coordinating Center in University of Maryland, the DCC. Some of our data will go in open access, which means that anybody can have access to it. There's no control at all. This will be hosted at the DCC. Some of our data has to go into controlled access because of the sensitivity. This is a preterm birth study, and you can imagine metadata will be associated with this will be very sensitive. Those IRB requires that it goes in a controlled access database. A controlled access database that we're using is DDCAP, and as you're probably aware, to get access to DDCAP, you have to go through a process to get stamped access. So that's going to do the suite of open access and controlled access. Most of our data will be linked at the DCC, even if it's going to controlled access, there will be pointers at the DCC that will point to where that data is and be coordinated in some way, shape, or form. The other data will go into that Download History Workbench for the settlement data. These are the data sets that are available. There are 3 focused data sets that are kind of described here: the early pregnancy, term pregnancy, and preterm birth. This is kind of the way the project progressed. We started with the cross-sectional study for preterm, and then the longitudinal term birth, and now we're looking at the preterm birth. These are the numbers of samples in each one of the data, or the sampling types that we have here, and the omics type of analysis that we're doing. We also have about 15 to 16,000 samples that have actually been processed in kind of general approach to doing the analysis. We do have a subtext on racial disparities here. We're very interested in racial disparities. There are racial disparities associated with preterm birth and adverse outcomes of pregnancy. So all of our
studies have about 50% or more African Americans that we're looking at for this racial disparity. Probably won't talk much about racial disparity today, but there are some posters. Poster 7 on Friday on Nearness Toronto, and I couldn't find the poster down here, but there's another poster today with Jen that will have a general presentation of some of the data that we're collecting in our analysis here, so there will be some way to get access to what's going on in our racial disparity. What have we learned so far? First of all, this is a kind of a general slide that covers most of the multi-omic data that we've been looking at: 16S profiles, DNA profiles, RNA profiles, and metabolic potential progression here. I guess the take-home message from this is that if you look at 16S, this is data coming from vaginal samples collected in the second trimester in our study here, so it's not just basically all in the second trimester. The 16S data and the metagenomic data match very closely reflect each other. They're very little difference in that, which suggests that 16S analysis is pretty robust. The interesting thing about the transcriptomic analysis is it doesn't exactly reflect the genetic potential that one sees in the metagenomic data. There's some differences here, particularly in this. We're really interested in this dynamic here. This light brown class size is DD81, which is a vector associated with vector vaginosis. Vector vaginosis is associated with a higher risk of preterm birth and adverse outcomes of pregnancy. G-vaginalysis is the red one, vaginalysis of this area is also associated with adverse outcomes of preterm birth. As you can see here, it looks like the transcription of ephemeral vaginalis kind of overwhelms the transcription of DD81 here. We don't really know what's going on here, but it suggests that either DD81 is relatively quiescent, or that ephemeral vaginalis is expressing its at a relatively high rate. But this is also reflected in the metabolic potential. This metabolic potential is based on the full metagenomic DNA sequencing, and the metabolic expression is based on RNA sequencing. You can see that there's some pathways here that are overexpressed. These pathways are associated with the shock, what's called peptidoglycan shock, that's making ATP for these organisms in an anaerobic environment. This is interesting because ephemeral vaginalis is not performed by positive. You make this ATP from the peptidoglycan shock. There's some other differences here as well. For example, this is a couple of these metabolic pathways here associated with synthesis of positive ligands and tesselar materials. So there are some interesting observations here associated with this is lactobacillus cristatus here, which is overexpressed in these capsular negative ligand materials. And we're looking at, and we think this is kind of reflective of what's going on in why lactobacillus cristatus is dominating this microbiome phenotype. We wanted to look at these integrated multi-omic discriminate data to discriminate clinical symptoms. So we looked at the clinical symptoms. The first vaginal microbiome is associated with adverse outcomes of pregnancy, bacterial vaginosis. Vaginal pH is associated with vaginal health, low pH is considered healthy, high pH is unhealthy. We did a partially squared discriminant analysis, which is shown here with the cytokine lipidome 16S taxonomic profiles. What you can see here is that in general, this is relatively small and included here, but we can integrate multi-omic data, integrate multi-omic data to discriminate some clinical parameters which suggest we need to use at some point to predict outcomes that might be helpful for treatment or prevention. What happens to the vaginal microbiome during pregnancy? This came from really work in HMT1, showed that pregnant women had a much more expanded lactobacillus profile than non-pregnant women, and we wanted to ask the question that multi-omic data providers side mechanisms like the microbiome contributes to average pregnancy outcomes, can be identified early predictors of preterm birth looking at these kinds of analyses. The first thing is when does this diversity increase diversity occur? They show first trimester, second trimester, third trimester samples, and what you can see is the diversity decreases by second trimester. So this is happening very early in pregnancy, and it involves increased dominance by lactobacillus and decreased presence of complex microbiomes. This is showing that this is focused on vaginal samples. These are diversity in standard Shannon diversity in vaginal birth system. And what it's looking at is the change in diversity in first trimester, second trimester, and third trimester in vaginal, rectal, and buccal samples. And what you can see here is the change in diversity in the second trimester in vaginal samples, but the same thing is not true for rectal samples and buccal samples. So the diversity is localized to the female changes is localized to the female reproductive tract. So we want to know if multi-omic data permits prediction of changes in community state. This is showing different community states associated by dominant bacteria and tracking longitudinally across pregnancy, first, second, and third trimester. And what you can see is some of these initial community states are relatively stable, like the bacillus cristatus, Skinner, Gasseri, just plotting mathematically here. So these on the left-hand side are significantly more stable, more consistent than these on the right-hand side. So we wanted to say, by looking at these, by looking at multi-omic data, can we predict these changes? So we look at cytokine profiles. Cytokine profiles, just brief. If you look at the less healthy community states, for example, vaginalis or DD8, DD81, these are microbial profiles dominated by less healthy bacteria. They tend to have decreased cytokine expression. There is a pattern here. I'm not going to go into that right now, but there is a pattern that we can use in analysis of multi-omic data. Paul Brooks in our group, he's continuing to mark out same modeling of community state types using this multi-omic data to try to see if we could predict changes in the microbiome and with any kind of accuracy. So what he did, his analysis showed that you could probably predict community state transition. It's dependent on host functions. And in this case, we look at the predictions of change in low IL-5 or high IL-5. One of the cytokines that we looked at. And you can see the predicted probability of transition in high IL-5 transition from a healthy state with lactobacillus to not change. It's almost 100% that IL-5 doesn't stay healthy. The low IL-5 it's decreased. G. vaginalis, for example, less healthy to another less healthier lactobacillus here. The low IL-5, the probability of that change is very low. The high IL-5, the probability is high. So you can use this multi-omic analysis of host factors to predict pregnancy risk, and it's possible at some point to clinical application. I'm going to skip over the conclusion slide because I think we've covered that already. I wanted to mention some of the posters that we have here today. We have some general posters from Nearness Toronto and Jen Gutrice. Nearness is Friday, poster 7, talking about the Mouse GI, and today Jen Gutrice has a poster 24, talking about preterm birth study, which I really think we'll mention as well today. We have two posters here talking about specific species that are smoking guns on what's going on in the vaginal microbiome and how it's impacting negatively pregnancy. and then we had some tour-based posters, one from Tom Rogers, who's a network differential expression, and machine learning approaches to try to discover differences between transcriptomes that we've been looking at. Steve Gorman is using constraint-based metabolic modeling to try to define what's going on in the microbiome as well. So those posters are today was poster 2, with Friday is poster 32. The critical gap that I wanted to mention, I'll just mention it briefly, the human genome. I think one of the things I haven't been able to talk about in the short time I've had today is the racial disparities, racial differences we see in the impact of the microbiome on adverse outcomes of pregnancy. There are very significant differences there. African Americans have higher probability, higher risk of adverse outcomes. And we've shown that there are clear racial differences. We have not been able to determine whether this is all genetic or environmental. It's obviously both environmental and genetic. We would like to look in more depth at the human genome and in particular at genomics to determine what those differences are. So I think that's a critical gap that I'd like to mention among others. And this is the team that's worked on this, the Vaginal Microbiome Consortium at VCU, our NIH partners, and our GAPS team in Seattle. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
We now have Mike Schneider from Stanford to talk about integrated personal wellness profiling during periods of environmental stress.
Okay, well, I'd also like to send my thanks to Lita. It's really been wonderful being part of this program. It's very exciting. We're now very much So our project is to analyze a set of pre-diabetics for their profiles over time in various patients. So just by way of background, I think most of you appreciate that diabetes is a growing problem in the world. In the U.S. alone, there are 29 million individuals who are currently diagnosed as diabetic, and there's 80 million that are pre-diabetic. And this has an annual cost of $245 billion each year. It's estimated at the time. What's also equally powerful is that 90% of individuals who are pre-diabetic don't even know it. So that means that looking at this room, there's a lot of you out there who actually spiking their glucose who have pre-diabetic and have no idea. I guarantee that's true. Profiling. We'll talk about that. And why is it significant? Well, a lot of these pre-diabetics will go on to become diabetic in their lifetime. So obviously then there's a strong need to understand the etiology, the management, and treatment of both diabetes and certainly to prevent full-time diabetes. So again, the objective of our project is to do longitudinal profiling, both microbial and host components, for over the now 4-year period that we've been funded, and what we're particularly interested in is profiling people while they're healthy, and then also during periods of time of stress. So the quite a few studies will have to go through this, showing the relationship between diabetes and microbial composition, and there's some evidence suggesting that stress is associated with diabetes and some memory. The scheme of our study is based on profiling, I think samples of 116 individuals. 66 of these are either pre-diabetic or insulin resistant.